series. They're going to get back for two. India at home. Lords goes wild.
Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the 81 All Out podcast. This is Siddhartha Vaidyanathan at Sidvi on Twitter, and I'm joined by my co-host who is Mahesh at Cornered on Twitter. Today we are thrilled to be joined by another test cricketer. We've had two so far, now we have the third. This is Abhinav Mukund, who has played 7 tests for India. He is also one of the most prolific scorers in first-class cricket. And he's a legend of one of the legends in Tamil Nadu cricket. He's only the second batsman from Tamil Nadu to score 10,000 first-class runs. He achieved that earlier this year. So welcome to the show, Abhinav. Thanks so much for joining.
Pleasure is mine. I thought you would give me an introduction saying this is Abhinav Mukund at Mukund Abhinav on Twitter. But I think that sums it up more or less. Thank you so much for your warm welcome, and it's a pleasure to be on your show.
Sure, and I would definitely link your Twitter handle as well, and I would urge all my followers to, and all our followers to definitely give you a follow. That goes without saying. And Mahesh, thanks for joining. Welcome.
Thank you. Abhinav, if I had 10,000 first-class runs, I'm sure he need not have mentioned my Twitter handle. I have nothing else to talk about.
Well, I don't know how to respond to that, to be honest, because in this day and age, you can buy followers, you can't buy runs.
Absolutely, yeah, and thank God for that. Thank God that you can't buy runs and wickets. So, Abhinav, let's begin by talking about how you got interested in the game, your early memories of watching and playing, and the reason why you decided to take it up.
So I do come from a cricket family, in the sense my parents, both of them played cricket, which is quite unusual because most fathers tend to pick up the sport at some point of time. But my mother also played a bit of sports. She played till the universities level. She played a little bit for her college. She was an opening batswoman, and my uncle played a bit of cricket, and all of in the sense we always had a bit of sport in our blood. And I feel for any young kid growing up, I think sport is a very big part. Whether you take it up professionally or not is the case. But I think I knew at a very young age that this is what I wanted to do, and I'm glad I'm doing it for a living.
Given that both your parents played, and given the background, was there also, I was interested to find out about how it was with regard to, your balancing of sport and academics, because we do know in India, and especially in many parts of South India, that, academics are valued so highly. So how was the balance like when you were in school and when you were growing up, and were your parents a little more lenient on that front?
Not really. In fact, it's the opposite, because they were very, very clear about how education was a very, very big part of anyone's development. And they were very, very particular that I went to school, caught up on lost homework, caught up on classes that I missed because I was playing somewhere. And at least till the 7th or 8th standard, I was part of a school which was very inclined towards academics. And they had really high standards, and my parents wanted me to maintain those high standards, even if I was playing a lot, playing for school, going away and playing a lot of matches for them. But they wanted me to, they were very clear that this foundation is what is going to serve well for you in for the rest of your life. And I'm really thankful for them for that, because I feel the way I can speak, the way I can learn languages, the way I've read up about a lot of things in my young age has obviously helped me while playing the sport. And obviously the last 10 or 12 years, cricket has been my biggest life lesson. But before that, it was more or less academics.
And talking about cricket, I mean, you mentioned how you started off, at a young age, an early age, and at that level itself, say when you were in school or when you were playing age group cricket, were you pretty much seen as somebody who would go far? Were you among the best in your lot of 20, 25 cricketers?
I would definitely say that. I think I had a reputation back in school. I used to get a lot of hundreds playing for my school team. In fact, when I was about 13 or 14, I used to be called to play as a guest player for other clubs, other academies. So I used to play for my own club in the morning, and I used to end up playing another game for another academy in the afternoon. My dad was a very, very, very big believer that no matter how much you practice, match practice is really important. You need to play a lot of matches. You need to get runs in the middle playing matches. So he would never refuse an offer from any other academy for me to go and turn out. I think that really helped me because there have been multiple days when I played 2 games on a single day. So I remember that very vividly, and I think that's helped me a lot because I had the opportunity to play a variety of bowlers, variety of conditions, and I grew up playing on matting wickets. So till I was 15, 16, I played a lot of cricket on matting. So that really helped me play probably the short ball in first class cricket.
Wonderful. And the choice of opener, was that something that just came naturally? Were you, was there a coach or somebody who made you do it, or did it just happen?
Interestingly, my dad was my coach, but my mom was the one who was the opening batswoman, and that's just another coincidence. That's all. It was just that I think my dad was very insistent on me opening the batting because he was a middle order batsman, and most of the time he wouldn't get any opportunities to score hundreds because he was predominantly a number 5, number 6 batter, which is probably a finisher, and he was more of an all-rounder. So he was very clear as to, he said, you should open the batting, you have the technique to play the new ball, you need to open the batting. He was very particular about that. So I think it was just a natural progression, I guess.
So coming to first class cricket, I mean, I remember hearing about you, back in 2000, must be 8 or something, when you got that got that triple hundred, and already then you were being seen as somebody, you were very young then and seen as this prodigy who could go on to have this long career. Looking back at it, do you feel that starting off with first class cricket, it just seemed like a breeze to you? At least at that time, it seemed to come very easy to you.
Yeah, I think it was one of those. It was one of those games where I still remember almost every ball because it was just. Yeah, I was batting really well at that point. I had a really good first year. I made my debut just a year before that in first class cricket, and we had a new captain. I think Dinesh Karthik was dropped from the Indian team, and he came in and he brought a fresh energy to the team. And he said, he was very clear about my role. He said, no matter what, I don't care even if you get 0 or you get like 50. I want you to play 100 overs, 110 overs. And that is your role in this team. If you play there, we have several stroke makers in the team that could enable us to get 450, 500. And that is something that we're striving to achieve every game. So my simple instruction was to bat 100, 110 overs. But it so happened that both of us ended up batting, me and Murli Vijay. After that game, he got called up to play for the country. But I think it was probably one of my better innings. Something that a lot of people remember because it was such a mammoth score, and I'm still very fond of. I still have fond memories of that.
So you were already a prolific scorer in Ranji Trophy, and you started off pretty well. And it was a fairly seamless sort of step up for you to Test cricket as well. Although India had a fairly settled opening combination at that time, you got a bit of a gap immediately after a fairly grueling season of cricket in India. So tell us a little bit about how prepared you were at the age of 21 for a national call-up.
I was actually expecting it. I was thinking, I think this is about the time that I get picked to play for the country because I had done one A tour before that. I'd done an A tour of England, and that featured a lot of your current Indian players and India Test players now. So, for example, Cheteshwar Pujara was the captain of that team that toured England, and this was when I was 19, and that was really good. And most of the players from there ended up playing for the country, like Shikhar Dhawan played after that, and Manish Pandey played after that. There were a few guys who ended up making the big cut. But the truth is, it's very difficult to prepare to play overseas. I would have loved to make my debut probably in India in conditions that were more similar to what I knew, but I didn't have that opportunity. So I guess it was a trial by fire for me making my debut in the West Indies.
I want to understand a little bit about the context of that Indian team. I know it was on a hot run. The previous Test series that they played in South Africa was a good series for the team. They had won the World Cup. But it was also a very tired Indian team in the sense they played the longest World Cup, followed by the longest IPL at that time. So by the time the team taught West Indies, and one of the reasons why you also got your call is that either a lot of the senior players were wanting to rest or were injured to make the trip. So two things I want to ask you. One, when you're going into the team, in your mind, you know that you are the fourth choice opener for India after Sehwag, Gambhir and your own partner Vijay. Did that affect in any way? Did that influence your thought process in any way going into that series?
Yeah, I was just very happy to be picked to play for the country. I wasn't thinking too much about the long term, whether I would be a part of the team after that, whether I would make it, all of that. But as you rightly said, I think it's very difficult to come off a winning World Cup campaign. Imagine the work that was put into it. And then grueling couple of months of IPL. So that in itself was about 3 or 4 months. So it was natural that a lot of players were fatigued. A lot of youngsters got their call up. A lot of players, even before I went there was an ODI and T20 series, and a lot of other cricketers also got their debuts then. But 3 of us made our debut in the same game in that Test match. So it was hard for all of us because we hadn't played a first class game, or we hadn't played a red ball game in almost about 4 or 5 months. And I hadn't played a single game because I wasn't part of the World Cup. I wasn't part of the IPL. I was, but I was still bench warming. So all I had was practice with the white ball, and there was no first class game before that Test match. So it was, as I said before, I think it was a little bit of trial by fire, and we were all just figuring out. And even players like probably like Lakshman or Rahul Dravid and MS Dhoni, they were all like trying to get their feet back up. But obviously they had so much experience that they were able to adjust a little bit quicker. But again, like I said, playing in alien conditions just 3 days or 4 days before we landed in the Caribbean, and obviously a ball change. We played with the Duke's ball, and that was something I'd never played before. So Duke's ball was something which was fairly new to me. It's more or less similar to the SG. It's not as different as the Kukabura like I know now, but the Duke's ball is a little bit heavier, so it gives you that harder effect on the bat. So there is a bit of change. So to get used to that, to get used to the conditions was a bit of a challenge.
How did you find the step up from first class cricket to Test cricket? Especially, you faced quite a few serious fast bowlers. They may not be great bowlers, but they were seriously fast. Someone like Fiddle Edwards gave you enough sort of to deal with his short bowling as well. How did you find the step up from first class cricket to Test cricket?
See, I quite enjoy playing fast bowling. I feel I have a predominantly back foot game. I enjoy playing the cut and pull shots, and I quite enjoyed the short bowling, to be honest. I enjoyed playing the faster bowlers, and I didn't overly think of it as, I've only played first class cricket and only played this speed. Now I have to adapt to playing this, and I didn't overthink it. I just wanted to play my natural game and just try to step up to international cricket. That's it.
Fair enough. And you had a couple of good innings over there, but unfortunately you couldn't kind of make them big. At the end of the series, did you have a sense of what's going to come up, the England series and the prospect of the openers might be coming back? Did you have a sense that you'll be picked for the England series after that?
So the selection, before the series happened, I didn't even know there was a tour to England. And I didn't know that if you got selected, you'd fly directly from West Indies to England. So I didn't know that at the start of the series. So I just had like sleeveless and shorts, and I didn't even have a jacket ready in case I got picked to play in England. So, the interesting part was I didn't think I'd make it because I thought Sehwag and Gambhir were going to come back. Sehwag was actually nursing a shoulder injury at that time, and he didn't recover in time for the England series. But Murali Vijay was the third opener, and I got the call ahead of him just before the start of the third test. So that in itself was a huge boost for me because the team management thought I was good enough to play in England, and they thought I was good enough to be the third opener. So to me, it's such a huge boost because I thought, okay, well, they have faith in me. I need to repay faith in them. If there's one innings that I probably regret, will not even be 81, which happened much later in Sri Lanka in 2017. I regret that 62 in Dominica, because Ravi Rampal was injured after 3 or 4 overs. There was just Fidel Edwards and Darren Sammy, and they had Devendra Bishu. So they literally didn't have the bowling resources to probably like get a team out or to trouble you. So that 62 was just a loss of concentration. I got out of Devendra Bishu playing a loose shot, called short leg. So that score could have been converted to 100. I feel probably it was just my youth thinking, oh, my 100's going to come eventually. So that was something that if there was any one innings that I regret, it's probably that.
So milestones, playing on your, did they tend to play on your mind back then though? I mean, especially once, you got into the 40s or once you got past 50 or something like that?
I didn't actually think about it too much back then, but after the England series when I got dropped, I had enough time to think about every single ball of my international cricket. Because I had almost 6 years that I was like, okay, what do I do what am I doing to get back? What am I doing? What did I do then? I replayed that innings over and over again. I replayed that dismissal over and over again for the next 5 or 6 years, because I couldn't get over the fact that what I'd done from childhood, which is cross 40 or 50, I used to get 100. My conversion rate of 50s to 100s were really good, and I was really surprised that I didn't go on and convert. So it was just one of those things that I kept killing myself for. So it was I guess I'm over it now. But again, if you ask me what my opinion of that innings was, is that I probably regret not going on to make 100.
Interesting. Now that you tell me that you were not aware of the England tour coming up, that makes it doubly daunting. For any youngster, going to England will be one of the toughest tours, especially at the very early stage of their career. Mm-hmm. And then now that I have this information that you were not even aware of it, how did you prepare for that series once you got to know? And also there was a matter of selection as well, once you got selected. Mm-hmm. And once you landed, what was your sort of process to get acclimatized to the conditions?
First, I bought a jacket because I didn't have one. And once that happened, there was a tour game in Taunton. There was a tour game against Somerset. So we had a couple of practice sessions before that. By the time a few of the main players also joined back, Sachin Paji came back, Gautam Gambhir came back, and it was just it was such an amazing feeling, looking back at it, walking through the long room and walking into Lords. I think it's an experience that every single cricket lover or cricketer would want to have. And I was totally in the moment. I was completely nervous, but I was thinking, wow, how lucky I am to be playing in Lords.
And you actually got off to a pretty good start. Tell us something about your innings. It was a pretty good start in that innings. We'll talk about the dismissal later, but let's just talk about how you felt in the early stages of that innings.
Yeah, so like I said, I was there's this funny photo of me in Lords. I managed to embarrass myself. I actually tried to pull Chris Tremlett, and he hit me on the helmet, and ball went off to. I fell down on the pitch itself, and my shoes came off. So there's a funny picture of me trying to steal a run with a sock, my shoe in one hand, my bat in the other hand, just ambling across to the other end. And the story behind that was, like I said, I was so underprepared that I didn't have an extra pair of shoes, and the shoes that were sent to me were a size bigger than what I was used to wearing. So, but that innings in itself, the only good part is I had that bat, which I thought was one of my best bats, and I kept middling them initially. I got off to a shaky start, but I kept middling them so frequently that there's so many open spaces in international cricket, and I was enjoying them. And it was easier to get boundaries, it was easier to get 2s or 3s, and it was just, I really enjoyed that innings until about I got to 40, because I didn't realize I'd gotten to 40. And once I did, I did look up the scoreboard, and I was thinking, shit, wow, I'm 40. What if I get a 50? What if I get 100? My name could be on the honors board. So that's where I guess I was let down. I got out on 49, chasing a wide one. But again, I could say it was just something that just my youthful whatever thoughts, I guess, because now if I look back at it, it's a very conscious choice to just keep playing every ball to its merit, not thinking about the score, not thinking of the overall outcome. But try telling that to a 21-year-old. As mature or as immature as you get, I think it's very difficult to control these thoughts. And that's what happened. But I really enjoyed that 49 that I got in Lords.
So you're saying when you were on 49, you were nervous about the 100, not so much the 50.
Irony, yeah. No one believed me, but I was thinking, shit, only 51 more for the honors board.
Interesting. So before coming here, I did go through your the commentary on Cricinfo for your innings. And in this innings, after the dismissal, the commentator is mentioning, saying he's again got out in the 40s. It happened once in West Indies and once here. Maybe he's nervous about the 50. So now I know the true reason.
Yeah, well, maybe, yeah. So I didn't overthink it. At that point, I thought, okay, I'll get another opportunity. I even started the second innings very well. I thought I was playing quite solid, even though I got 12 or 13. It was quite solid starting off that inning. And see, again, because as a first-class cricketer, I was so used to converting my 30s and 40s to 100s. So it was just surprising for me that I got out in 40.
So you had a very steady start to your career. You were you found your ground in West Indies. You've withstood the demands of Test cricket quite well, although you didn't get the big score. Then you make your debut in England, or your first game in England at Lords, and you start off pretty well. Mm-hmm. Test cricket must have seemed like a fairly, I wouldn't say easy, but you belonged there. You felt like you belonged there. From there to one more test, just one bad test after that, and kind of missing in the reckoning for a while. How did you deal with it, especially for someone so young?
I didn't deal with it too well, to be honest, because I felt I should have retained my place as bad as it sounds, because not a lot of people know that once I was dropped, Sehwag came back, he played the third and fourth test. But in between those two tests, there was a warm-up game, and it was in bright and sunny England, which itself was a rarity. And we played in Northamptonshire, and I got 100 in that game. And I batted at 3 because Rahul Bhai wanted a break, and Sehwag Gambhir opened. I batted at 3, and I got 100 in that game. One of the innings that I remember very vividly. So that I thought would help me get my spot back, or probably give me one more series at home. And then we got back home, and there was a rest of India game, and I got 100 there. And then we played a Ranji Trophy game against Haryana at home in Chepauk, and I got a double 100 there. And that was just the game before the selection. And right after that, I was dropped. I didn't know too much about it. There were not too many people who came and told me why I was dropped or what was the reason. But I had a lot of time to think about it. I had a fantastic year, but I didn't take it too well, to be honest, because even after I had the fantastic year, I kept thinking, what should I do to get back? Because clearly I seem to be lacking in something that I don't know. So let me try something. Let me try to change my technique. Let me try to change the way I play. And I think it's a very difficult time, because at 21, 22, after playing 5 years of first-class cricket, after playing so many years of cricket, for you to sit down and go back to your drawing board, and then it doesn't work, you're just going down an infinite loop of just bad and negative thoughts. So that is something that I wouldn't advise any cricketer to do. You just trust your own game, trust your natural instincts, and I'm sure what got you your runs will get it back again. I think everyone goes through their share of ups and downs, but if you ask me how did I take it, this is how I took it.
One thing though about, let's not forget about the fact that you did come back, and did play for India. So tell us a bit about the difference in both your own approach as well as the difference in the teams that you came into, like in 2011, and in when there was a different captain and different setup compared to when you came back.
And not to mention the captain of the team at that time was your fellow debutant as well.
Yeah, correct. So there was a massive change. The coaches had just changed. For me to even make a comeback, right, I had ruled it out completely, because I never thought I would play for India again. And just by going with the quantum of runs and quantum of whatever, I got a call up, because there were about 22 or 23 openers that played after I played. Or 23 opening combinations or something like that. I read this somewhere, and finally I got an opportunity, and I knew I was very well prepared. I kept working towards how am I going to make it? How am I going to do that? Even then, I played a test match in Bangalore. I didn't know till the last second that I was going to play because Murli Vijay backed out, and he had an injury. He was struggling with a niggle somewhere, and he backed out, and so I got a chance there. I didn't score too many in that game as well. It was a very difficult test match for everyone, but it was a historic test match because it was such a good defense, and obviously that brain fade thing also happened. So that was something that was a very good test match. But I knew going into the Sri Lanka series that I would get my opportunity somewhere. And again, there were a few injuries. Murli Vijay was injured for that series, and KL Rahul got injured just before the first game. He was due to be back only the second test. So I knew it was going to be a straight up call between Shikhar and I for probably the rest of the tour. And it so happened that Shikhar got 190 and I got 81. So it was an easy choice for the selectors as to who would retain their place, I guess. But I again, as I say, I was very well prepared for that tour. I was much more confident of doing well than I was probably when I was 21, because I had years of first class cricket. I had years of success and failure, and seeing all that, I was really determined, and it was just disappointing that I got dropped after that again. But I don't think I couldn't do too much about it after that, because I played to the best of my ability. I got 81 in my last test inning, so I didn't overthink it after that.
So how do you? I know that was your last innings. Your last innings was also your highest score, and also I think you had 100 in partnership with Kohli in that match, if I'm not wrong, in that innings.
Yeah. Correct.
And since then, I understand India had 3 openers to pick from at that stage, but subsequently, at least after the Australian tour last year, where Vijay and Rahul kind of fell out of favor. How do you look at the fact that you were not in the reckoning after that? Although you were in the reckoning in 2017, and subsequently your first class record has been terrific.
Well, I don't know. I've never, as I said, I think I've never questioned the selection too much. I don't know what went on after that, but I don't think I played a single A game also after that. I haven't been part of. I don't remember being part of a Duleep Trophy game as well, and it's just. I don't know. I don't know what the thoughts of the selectors are sometimes, because you come back to first class cricket, you score tons of runs, and then again you're being looked at as okay. You gave him an opportunity, he's done now. So that I felt was a bit harsh, bit unfair, because I know of players who get second, third, fourth opportunities. You get that extra test match, but I wasn't probably lucky enough to get that. But as I said, again, looking at it now, I'm not even looking at selection as a criteria for me to play cricket. It's just that how I enjoy the game and just move forward, because I don't know why I was dropped. That's all. It's just I don't have an answer to that. Let's put it that way.
And right now you're at peace with that.
Yeah, I think eventually you have to be at peace with it, right? Because let's say you can't just keep harping on the fact that, I'll drop. This gives rise to negative thoughts, and you just continue going on with playing the sport, enjoying the sport. That is something I learned in the wilderness probably in the 5 years that I missed out. I've just continued to score runs, and scoring runs is something I enjoy doing. Playing cricket is something I enjoy doing. And I've found my love for the game, especially in the last couple of years. I think I've had 2 really good seasons. I felt last year was probably one of my better years, but unfortunately, not a lot of people remember that. So I just continue doing that because I enjoy doing it, not because of the attention or for higher call-up.
Listening to you talk about the wilderness as you mention it, it reminded me a lot of another test opener that we had on our show, Akash Chopra, and he mentioned how that when he was dropped, after he played for India, and then he came back to Ranji Trophy, and he too had a difficult time for 2 or 3 years at that time. And he mentioned how, expectations so drastically change, both from yourself as well as from others. Now, the moment you come back from playing for India, you yourself, first of all, feel that you should be scoring, in every game, because this is a lower level compared to that. And secondly, the others also, they want to sort of make sure that they do better against you and want to make sure that they get you out, because then for them to get a test cricketer out is a big feather in their cap. Did you feel some things like that at that time?
See, I think that's a mistake that most of us do, because you just think, if you played international cricket, this level of cricket is going to be easy. So I don't think it's fair to say, just because I played a higher level of cricket, I come here, things will get easier. I think there are challenges in any cricket that you play. I've realized that over a period of time. You play first class cricket, tomorrow you go play an under-19 game and you could get like a blinder. You could get a piece of a delivery from some 18-year-old kid who would knock you over and you're done. So that's the beauty of cricket. And you realize that over time. And see, the thing is, if you're playing 1 or 2 games just as an interim, when you're playing international cricket, it's not that hard. But when you're playing a whole season of Ranji Trophy, the entire pace of play changes. It's not the same pace as international cricket. It's not the same strategies as international cricket. And most of the teams employ like a certain 7-2 field. They tend to bore you, frustrate you outside off stump. Some teams even like from lunch to tea, they don't even try to get your wicket. There are spinners bowling negative lines throughout the day. And these are challenges that you need to face. And every single place has its own conditions. If you play in Bombay, it's a different condition. Play in Orissa, it's a different condition. Play in Delhi, it's different. So you need to acclimatize to that. You need to acclimatize to playing in the Ranji Trophy. And there were multiple rule changes that happened. The 6 of grass need to be on every pitch. So obviously there's so much more assistance for the faster bowlers. I still think I'm probably sticking my neck out there. I feel international wickets are bloody flat. I feel a lot of wickets that have been played in the last few years. Most of the test matches go on for 4 or 5 days. And I feel the wickets are really, really good. They're probably in the peak condition when you're playing international cricket. I wouldn't say the same about first class cricket.
I wanted to ask you about that column, because when all these, people like Maxwell and others decided to take a break, you felt, you wrote a column about this in CrickBuzz, which I will link, of course. But did you, at that point when everyone was going through this, did you feel it was important to, raise more awareness, or, what was the thought behind writing that piece?
I felt actually nobody would care if I even came out. That's the honest truth of it. Like nobody would care, because he's he's anyway not playing anything important. He's anyway playing club cricket in England. What is going to be the I don't know. People are not going to take me seriously if I'm going to say I'm really struggling. But there is not a concept of it's quite sad, because there's not a concept of a sports psychologist. As much as people say, I feel it is something which is quite mandatory in all first class teams, at least now, because the journey of a cricketer, especially when you're young, when you're 17, 18, 19, it almost defines your life. It almost defines how you live. And most of the time you're away from families in a hotel room, and you genuinely don't have too many people to talk to, tell about what you're feeling. It's a competitive space. It's a very competitive environment. So you won't even have the guts to talk about it to your friends sometimes, because it is a competitive environment and people might judge you for how you're feeling. So it might lead to you being dropped also. So it is a very difficult thing, and you need someone trustworthy that you can go and talk to about certain things. And I wrote the column because I felt I needed to tell what I felt, and it felt like a huge load of me when I took that break. I took the break and I went there, and I came back with zero expectations. It felt like everything, okay, I've lost everything. What else? I just want to enjoy playing the game. I just want to enjoy. I don't want to play for getting a call up to play for India. I don't want to play to get a call up to play for Tamil Nadu. I don't want any of this. I just want to go out into the field and I just want to do what I love. And the love for the game had been lost because I'd been expecting all of these things. I'd been wanting so many, accomplishments, this, that. The more you chase it, the harder it gets, the farther it goes away from you. So I felt it was such a huge load of me when I took the break, which is why I wrote that article saying it's okay to take a break.
I mean, a lot of cricket is also about, and people have spoken about it. It's also about sometimes faking it, right? Showing that you are strong and not showing your weakness to the opposition, because if you do that, you feel they will get on top of you and all that.
Yeah.
And do you feel that, that cricketers in general, because of that and because of other reasons, are hesitant to even come out with their insecurities and weakness in matters as important as this?
Of course they are. 100% they are. And I don't blame them for it, which is why a lot of these issues that I've written about, it's taken me a lot of guts and a lot of thoughts over the years, because I've had to articulate myself in a certain way. And also, I don't expect everybody to come out and say people should be comfortable talking about issues or things that they want to talk about is personal to them whenever they want to. I don't think there's a right time or a wrong time for this. So I've always felt very strongly about that. And insecurity is a huge part of a sportsman's life, which is why I feel that someone who you trust, who you feel is capable of listening to you in an environment, in a friendly environment, then I think it bodes well for the team and also for the individual.
Abhinav, just related to that, I also want to bring it up because I think after 2014 or 15, you did give an interview to Cricinfo, for instance. Was it Arun Venugopal, if I'm not wrong?
Yeah.
Where you mentioned something similar, right? Where you were going through this turmoil and family has been very supportive. But you didn't explicitly use the word mental stress or whatever. But you did allude to that.
Yeah.
At a time when you mattered, right? When a time, what Abhinav says matters to the cricketing public because you were still in the reckoning.
That's not true, Mahesh. I'll be very honest, because you know it when you're in the reckoning. You know when you do what you do. You know it when you're in the reckoning, and it just feels like one journalist calls you and speaks to you because, obviously I know Arun quite well, and Arun was the only guy I spoke to at that point, and it was on the back of a very good Ranji Trophy season again. So 2014 I got back and I had a good year in the Ranji Trophy. So it was on the back of that, and obviously I'd spoken a lot about how I'm not yearning for all of these call-ups and all of that, but I hadn't analyzed it fully then, because you don't know, there are so many times in my journey in England, in 4 months or 5 months, I used to coach. I finished the coach's course there. I went and I used to roam around Mondays, Tuesdays, play a random club game on Wednesday, play a T20 game on Thursday, and it was just like there were no expectations for me to play the sport. But tomorrow, if I come back to India, I knew that if I play a game anywhere, tomorrow people are going to take me seriously about how I play. And finding the love and finding the joy of playing the sport again, I probably found out there. And that is something I wanted to express in a way, which probably came out like that. I can't live without cricket. It's been part of my life. I don't think I can ever consciously take a decision and say, that's it, done. There's no cricket for me. No, even if I'm at home like today, I would still be watching like random YouTube videos of cricket, and that's just in me. I enjoy playing the sport. I enjoy doing it, but I felt taking that break was so important for me as an overall development of my game.
No, it's a sort of related question that I want to ask from two perspectives. One, when you got the chance when you were at 21, now looking back at it now with all the benefits of wisdom now, would you think you got the chance too early from your cricketing career perspective? Like Akash Chopra mentioned in our last podcast with him, where he thought had he got the chance later in his career, he could have made a much better deal out of it. And from your perspective, particularly, given you were 21, and then given when you're talking about 2015, you were under the impression that you were not in the reckoning. it's very hard for a young man to cope up with the fact that your peak point of your career happened at 21, and from then on, you're never going to recapture that heights again. How do you look at making your debut so early from both the perspectives?
You can't write what is written for you. So I don't have an opinion on when you should play for the country. I felt I was in a really good phase before I got picked for India. In the sense, I had 3 solid years, and even before I got picked, and there was a particular game, there was a Rest of India game or something like that, which I got 100 end of 2010. So I was actually in peak form when I got picked, and I don't have any regrets about playing for India when I was 21. If there is any regret that I have, it is probably that I wish I could have played a home test. I wish I could have played somewhere in India as a startup, or I feel like if there was an opportunity for me to play alongside all of those stalwarts in an environment that was friendly to me, with a ball that was probably friendly to me, that is asking for too much, man. I'll be very honest. Asking for too much, I don't have any regrets. I don't have any other opinions about it.
So you have mentioned this also in your interviews, but it seems that break that you took when you went to UK and then when you came back to India, it seems that had caused a bit of a mental switch to go off. Was that because of you were totally away and you had some time to introspect and you had some time to actually come to grips with everything? Or what were the couple of things that worked in your favor to just switch your mindset?
See, the biggest switch was I'd technically given up hope of playing for the country ever again. That was the biggest switch. I'll be very honest. I don't think anyone can say that with more honesty than I did, because I had no hope that I would ever play for the country again. Seeing the lows that I had seen, I thought, okay, I'd be lucky if I played a couple of years for Tamil Nadu. I was thinking of all sorts of rubbish options, to be honest. I was thinking of starting business on my own, start doing something on the side. I was thinking of everything under the sun, but trying to make a comeback. So that was the lowest point of my life. But the switch happened when I started playing again. And there's something about sportsmen, which I don't know. I don't know if it's just me, or I think a lot of us sportsmen can relate to it. The moment you're questioned about your work ethics and the moment you're questioned about what you can bring to the table, it just fuels some sort of fire in you. And that's exactly what happened. So my place was in question, and I wanted to play one more year just to be sure that I had not fallen out of love for the game. And my place was in question, and I thought, okay, who are these guys to talk about me? And I'll just show you something that I'm capable of. And that was the fuel that gave rise to probably my comeback more of sorts.
It's a really difficult thing to reconcile with, right? Because you seem to have really blossomed. Not that you were not scoring earlier, but I'm saying, playing freely after all that you went through at a time when you had given up playing for India. When actually speaking, you're still young enough to have a pretty meaty career. You're still in a position where if you are picked for India, you can have a 5 to 6 year career comfortably, if not more even, because these days cricketers are going on even later. But it's a little odd, isn't it?
It is, yeah. It is very odd, because I don't want people to write me off now that I'm 30. I want to and I don't want to prove to anybody that I'm good. I just feel like I want to contribute to Tamil Nadu as much as I can. I think I had a fantastic year last year, where I was very proud of the hundreds that I got last year. They're probably one of the best hundreds that I've got. Unfortunately, it's more of a short-term memory thing, to be honest, because I felt I batted my best last year and not much was written about it, because it was, I shouldn't say this, but it was more of a case of, okay, you also ran guys, one of the also ran guys. So I felt like it that way, because for me to get a double hundred in Baroda, which is one of the most challenging places to play Ranji Trophy cricket in the country, is one of the knocks that I treasure the most. And I got 100 in a session in Chepauk, which is something that I never dreamed of doing. So a couple of my best knocks were the past year, but as you said, I'm in the same boat. I'm not looking to play here, there. I didn't even get called up to play the trophy. I had a fantastic Vijay Hazare season and I didn't get called up to play Vijay Hazare. So I didn't bother too much about it.
I was actually going to come to this towards the end, but now that you've mentioned these two knocks against Baroda and Railways, right? The other 100 was against Railways, right? There's a perception that, especially given that you haven't played too much in the IPL as well, that there's a perception that Abhinav is this fairly steady opener, but your hundreds in Ranji Trophy are scored at a very, very good clip. The 200 was of 250 balls or something. The 100 was of 160 balls or even less. Even the 100 that you scored against Bombay in the semi-finals in 16, is it? 16, 17.
Yes, correct.
Setting up the fourth innings target was a fairly quick 100 as well. And I'm looking at your list A record, although I haven't followed much of it, is that it's a phenomenal record in strike rate of 80 odd.
Yeah.
How do you reconcile with this sort of narrative versus the hardcore facts which prove something else?
I guess all I have to say is the facts matter more, right? Sometimes, but I can't change people's perceptions. It's something that I've grown to understand. I can't change people's perceptions about how what they think of me, and I've become very comfortable about that. If you're going to brand me as a one format player, please brand me. Go ahead. But people who know me, people who've seen me play, I think I've had some fantastic years in the Vijay Hazare, and I'm very proud of averaging more in the Vijay Hazare than in the Ranji Trophy, because I averaged 50 plus. I had a really good year last year. We went to the finals and unfortunately we lost to Karnataka, but I think I've been a very important part of the Vijay Hazare setup. But I don't have to reconcile with other people's thoughts. I don't have to reconcile with what people think of me. I just have to go out there and do what I know best.
No, one is that you don't care about what people say. That is, of course, as a cricketer, you must have gotten used to it over the years. But here, there's also a deeper economic impact, right? The fact that you're effectively not allowed to come into this IPL bonanza, for instance, despite the fact that you are eminently qualified to play. Does it affect you as a professional cricketer?
It did. It used to affect me because I saw a lot of these guys making shitloads of money while I was putting in the hard yards, and I know for a fact that a lot of guys don't want to play red ball cricket, but it's not their fault. They're probably seen as better cricketers for the format. A lot of franchisees think in a different way, and I was very deeply affected by that because I felt, as you say, the economic impact of it was a bit harsh. But at the end of the day, I can't do much. If you're branded as a certain type of player and you want to prove to other people, you can try to prove as much as you can, but you can only play to the best of your ability. And I haven't changed my mindset too much on that.
And even in in a format like T20, I mean, you've had a great success in the TNPL, right? I mean, which is also which is a T20 format, but even then, it has not. I would imagine that IPL teams would have been looking at you at least then, but it doesn't seem like they are making that connect.
Yeah. So see, that's the thing, right? I can't be too bothered about these selections and non-selections of it. To be honest, it's just that wherever I play, I think to play to the best of my ability is something that I've consciously tried to do. Is one. But as you see, I don't know how else to answer this question, but to say a lot of people have actually questioned why have you taken up commentary at such an early age? And I wanted to be close to the game. People are not picking me in the IPL. The places where I'm picked, I'm getting runs. What do you expect me to do? There's so much talk about economic impact, right? Ranji Trophy cricketers don't get paid much. We don't get paid much. It's just a passion to play for the state that keeps you going. So, literally, commentary and all of the other things that you do on the side helps in the overall economic strain or whatever it is, overall economic impact on your own family. So I thought about that, and that was one of the reasons, but it wasn't the primary reason. But commentary is something that I enjoy doing. I started getting good. I started getting better at it as the days went on, and I stay close to the IPL by commentating every year. I've done that for the last couple of years now. I think going back to probably Mahesh's question on the economic references, I'll just give you a number. If you play a whole season of Ranji Trophy, you get paid around 10, 12 lakhs at the most. At the most, on a good year, we'll get paid about 10 lakhs. But your minimum contracts are 20 lakhs in the IPL. So a bench warmer might stand to get paid 20, 30 lakhs. So obviously the lollipop dangling in front of young cricketers is how do we get into the IPL? How do we do that? And I don't blame them, or I'm not saying it in the negative connotation. I'm just saying it's a great thing the IPL has come on board, but I also feel at some point the Ranji Trophy match fees and everything should be a little bit more.
I know statisticians in franchisees making more money than a Ranji Trophy cricketer.
That's the irony of it. But what to do?
All right. So talking about commentary and talking about, how you've also been one of the few cricketers to, be open about issues, be it mental health or other things. I mean, one of the things that you did come out about in 2017 was about you facing all the issues about your skin and pigmentation and the color of your skin. You had come out with a very forthright statement on Twitter, and then of course that has come back now because of the issues that Darren Sammy has come up with. And in fact, people are mistaking that that you said something now, when in fact this was said like 2 years ago, when nobody else was really bringing up this issue. So, can you firstly, there are different strands to this. Firstly, like 2017, did something happen for you to come out, or you just felt that this is a issue that's huge enough to do it? And the reason why I have to mention as well is that, if like you, who is played for India, who is, in a privileged position, so to speak, for you to come out with this, it only shows the extent of the problem.
First of all, to be relevant now after 2 years is just disappointing. It's just disappointing that we've gone from square A to square A in 2 years. That is something that's disappointing to me. But at least now a lot of people have gone back to it, and people have commented saying, "Oh wow, it's such a great article." And I'm thinking, shit, I just woke up one day and Doda Ganesh actually mentioned me, and it just blew up. And then Darren Sammy mentioned me, and it blew up again. So it was not any. I haven't commented on the issue at all. I haven't given a thing. Suddenly, journalists were calling me from everywhere and asking for my opinion. I said, "Boss, my opinion is already out there. I've already given you my opinion, and I've been facing it since junior cricket. And I'll be very honest with you. Since the moment I wrote the article, not a single person has had the guts to come out and call me something racially. Listen, whatever racial name, something they want to target me and call me, they've stopped doing that out of the fear that, oh, this guy will write probably something about it." And that was a win for me, because I'd grown tired of just people calling me names because of my skin color. I've given my life to playing the sport under the sun, and you're bound to get tanned and stuff like that. So I don't want to be any part of these abuses, especially on the cricket field. With social media, it's going to continue. You and I both know that no matter what you say, they're going to comment on something about your color or your caste or whatever it is on social media. But the reason why it came about was there was a picture that was posted online at a Sri Lankan High Commission dinner, and multiple guys just came out and started trolling me for my skin color. And many guys were talking that all guys from the south are the same skin color, this, that. I had no intention of bringing out a north-south divide. I had no intention of calling out a certain sect or community. All I wanted to say was, this is my opinion. Stop getting obsessed with your fairness or your darkness. It's not the only, fair isn't the only lovely, or something like that I wrote at that point, if I remember. And I said, let's just continue with our life rather than taking digs at people with a certain skin color.
So the thing is that you've mentioned about how the name calling has been going on for, since in your junior days and your younger days. As a youngster coming to, first of all, who's, passionate about playing cricket and who only wants to go out there and play and then go home, how does one deal with such situations? How does one react? How much does it play on your game itself? And then, where does one go to, how to get help on this front?
I didn't get help on this front at all, to be very honest. I didn't, it's just an obsession that is quite rampant in our society. It doesn't stop with cricketers alone. I think as a society, we're quite obsessed by it. I think, Boria Majumdar commented on my tweet from many years ago, and he said, George Clooney called it a 400-year-old pandemic. I was like, okay, wow, 400-year-old pandemic. I think we're obsessed with a certain type of skin. So, see, I didn't mean to make a change. I didn't mean to be a brand ambassador of racism or anything. I just felt this is my opinion, and I'm tired of you guys calling me all of these things. You either put a full stop to it, or I'm going to call you out publicly. That's it. I just want people to just stop. That's it. I'm done with all of this name calling, and it did stop. I'll be very honest with you. A lot of my closest friends continue calling me all of these things, but they are my closest friends. And even a couple of them came up to me and said, "Oh, I'm scared to call you these names, Dano. What the hell? Why do you go out and write this?" But people who I didn't know, people who I didn't know at all, I felt it was a bit derogatory to call you by the color of your skin, or certain things related to darkness or blackness or whatever it is that you call it. So I just wrote it, and I think it has a positive impact on my life after that.
Well, the point about the closest friends is interesting, because that is one thing that has come up in this whole Darren Sammy issue as well.
Yes.
Saying that, when you're playing as part of a team, and when you are in that situation of, general banter in the dressing room, these things are bound to happen. But at the same time, he has clearly mentioned that he did not even know the meaning of the word, and he thought it was something else. So in that kind of a dressing room environment, and now you're slightly older now and among the senior members of the team, how does one foster that sensitivity in that environment of, dressing room fun and banter? And, of course, you don't want it to be a really boring and a very serious situation all the time. But of course, this is the line that you have to find, right?
I think there are some sensibilities to it as well, right? For example, if a closest friend came to my room and they're going to call me that, it's fine, because we are really good friends. He's going to come home, he's going to call me that, it's fine. But in front of a team, in front of probably now that I'm 30, if a youngster who's 17-year-old comes in, and if somebody is going to call you a particular name in front of him, tomorrow it won't take him like minutes to call me that as well. And it's a bad example that you're setting for somebody who's a 17-year-old. He's going to go call his dark-skinned friends that, or he's going to call somebody else that. It's just a bad example. So that is something I really vouch for the sensibilities that people take, and a lot of my friends are very sensible about these things. They never call me that in front of people or something like that. And it's always done behind in like a very comfortable like house setting, or in between like four walls. It's never done in the midst of a team. I understand the part where banter comes in. If it's light-hearted, if it's good fun, as long as people don't take offense to it, it's banter. Once you start taking offense to it, it becomes a full-boil fight. So it's a very sensitive line that you should know when to draw.
Yeah, especially now, given that, you're with the IPL and with the amount of interaction that cricketers have with those from around the world, I think it's only doubly important that, given that you're going to be meeting a cricketer from XYZ country, it's doubly important to know their sort of cultural norms and their history and the kind of terms that are unacceptable on that front.
Yeah, I think it's very important for you to do that. I don't think you can call somebody something derogatory, and if you didn't know and you call them, then it's fine. But I think I read somewhere, you mentioned Akash Chopra, so I'm bringing it up. I read somewhere that he was called a Paki when he went to England. Tino Best has come out and said that England were very racist to him and all of that. So, see, it's again the sensibilities of what you're saying to a certain person, right? So, if you didn't know, if out of ignorance, if you're going to say something, then it's fine. But if you know it and you say it, then it's offense. You're offending somebody. And you need to be quite sensible in how you address a person.
But there are two strands to this, right? One is offending somebody, being insensitive and picking on a physical attribute, which is really terrible. Mm-hmm. But with Darren Sammy, there's also the added weight of racism, right? In the sense that to make fun of someone's color within India is one degree of offense. To kind of call a black person referring to his color of the skin is a whole different level of escalation. And I understand a lot of the people who said that may not be aware of the impact of it, but that alone does not validate a silence. At the end of the day, you have to own up. If Sammy felt offended, you have to own up, even if you didn't mean it, and come forward. Whatever, you can sort it out privately. There's no need for outrage here, but it's an opportunity for that person to learn rather than like bury it under the carpet saying this is an Indian thing. It's an opportunity for us to own up and learn and be better.
100%. I completely agree with you. I think I have absolutely any more comments on that, because I think that is something that we all have to do. If you own up and if you say like whatever you did was wrong, you have a friendly chat about it, then we can just move on with our life. That's it. But as I said before, it's quite rampant in our society that people don't even see it as a slur or a form of racism. They just think it's common to do that. It's very common to call you by your community name. It's common to call you by your skin color. Common to call you by your caste name. It's all of these are forms of racism to me. So you need to be very aware before saying all of these things.
Yeah, and also, I mean, one of the things that you have said is extremely crucial for people to realize. I mean, the moment you put out that statement and the moment you tweeted it out, I mean, you have yourself seen the change that people have seemed to have internalized and have stopped, calling you that and referring to you that. So, when people, when you ask cricketers to come out and say something, it's not just because you want them to educate millions of people, which may never happen. But at least, if you educate at least the 5 people around you or, the handful of people around you, that itself is a big change compared to what has been going on at the moment.
100%. Let me tell you something. I'm not trying to tell you this just because he's the Indian captain. I've known Virat for a long time. Known him since my under-19 days. And because this tweet and post cropped up recently, a lot of people have tagged him on a particular fairness cream ad and said you should preach what you practice. So I don't know. I forgot the quote. Sorry, I'm messing it up. But you should always
you should practice what you preach.
You should practice what you preach. I mean, yeah. Correct. So in reality, after that post was out, he came out publicly and supported me on Twitter, which was one. But he showed it in his actions. Since then, he has not endorsed a single fairness brand. He hasn't endorsed a single brand which made fairness creams. And that to me is change. But not too much is written about it because people just want to write about, is Virat Kohli. He's the extremely fit athlete that he's become. We want to talk about his water. We want to talk about his vegan diet. We want to talk about how he's not endorsing carbonated water or unhealthy foods and all of these things. But only when the issue of racism crops up do people even realize that, boss, if he wanted, he could be making millions endorsing like all of these brands. But he made a conscious choice to not endorse these brands. And that is something that not a lot of people know.
Wow, I didn't know till now.
Yeah,
I had no idea till now. Yeah,
exactly. I don't think there's any bigger change that I expected than that. I didn't even expect that would happen, but it did, and he's never endorsed it after that.
Oh wow. Okay. The very fact that he used to endorse and he has stopped endorsing is a stance in itself. He may not come out and spell it out.
Exactly, which people don't write about or talk about at all. Only when issues like this come up do people even realize, oh wow, okay. And even then people don't know because nobody's written about it. leaving all of these big names aside, dude, there were so many former cricketers who came up to me personally and said, we felt this throughout. We never had the guts to go out and say it. I felt this throughout my career, and there were big names. There were big names who came up to me and spoke to me, at least 10 or 12 of them. And it was over a space of like 1 or 2 years. It wasn't immediate. It happened like a year after I met them. Hey, I read your article. You was fantastic, and I've gone through that so much. I never had the guts to write about it. I'm glad you did. Credit to you. And that is a win to me. It changed the life of one other person. It changed the life of a couple of other people. That's it. That's all I wanted to get out of it. I feel I've achieved it, which is why I haven't commented on it now, because deep down inside I'm a little sad that shit, what I wrote 2 years ago is still relevant, boss. Why it can't be relevant now? It shouldn't be relevant. I was a little bit sad about it, but if it is relevant, and if it, hopefully from now on, look at the positive thing and change. Hopefully there is a change now.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think the sad part is that these things keep coming back. Even if if we go through a little bit of progress, I think that then things go back. But as you said, you have made that difference to a set of people, and hopefully that the incremental change will then, add up over time. And now, I mean, we were just discussing about this issue, Mahesh and I, and we said that, the one great thing to have come out from this whole Darren Sammy issue is that now every cricketer around the world who has read this topic at least knows the meaning of this word. So there won't be a cricketer in the future who will not know the meaning and then play on. So that is again a positive to come out of this, because, this is education at the end of the day.
100%.
So, okay. Yeah. So this was fantastic talking about this issue, but let's talk about the present now. And, of course, you're still young. You still have many years of cricket left in you. You've just completed 10,000 runs. So going forward, I mean, what is the kind of mindset like for you? Is it now just like a blank, clean slate every time you go out and take strike? Or is it, are you somebody who believes in setting season end goals or 5-year goals, that kind of thing?
I used to do that. I used to practice a lot of goal setting, but I stopped doing it because it just was a lot of expectation on myself. It was just a lot of pressure that I put on myself to achieve certain things. And I think cricket, like life is uncertain, to quote myself. I've written that somewhere. So cricket, like life, is uncertain. And I feel you don't have to take too much pressure in scoring X number of runs or taking X number of wickets. I feel you need to practice hard. You need to keep enjoying the game, and you need to perform to the best of your ability. And that is something that I want to strive to do. I want to continue to keep doing that, and that's all there is. I don't have any other weightages or any baggages around me like before. I just want to go out there and play till I enjoy playing.
You've played for Tamil Nadu for a considerable period of time, and looking back, I mean, of course, absolutely fine teams and fine players have come. Many have they've played for India and things. But do you feel that purely in terms of achievement and titles that there could have been more to show?
100%. And I feel I played in 2 finals and a couple of 3 or 4 semi-finals, and I feel we could have come to the final hurdle. We could have crossed the final hurdle a couple of times, but we were outplayed in both the finals, and a couple of semi-finals we were a bit unlucky, I guess. So I still, for me, that is probably one of a big dream of mine, if you would call it, is for me to win the Ranji Trophy. I think that is something that has been on my mind for a very, very long time, and we have a really talented bunch, but it's about everyone coming together and playing good cricket at the right time.
So we did an episode with Deepak Raghav, you might know him, the Hindu journalist, and also K. Balakumar, on the travails of tragic Tamil Nadu fans. Basically, we've been following the Tamil Nadu team passionately for so many years, and always to kind of end up with some sort of disappointment or the other. And one of the recurring themes in that discussion was the fact that Tamil Nadu has such a fabulous structure of first division or league cricket, which is fairly, in all fairness, it's not the most lucrative of jobs, but compared to other states, they're reasonably well paid as well. So there's an incentive to pursue cricket as a serious full-time profession. And a lot of the clubs are also well funded by the corporates. Now, does that add to the disappointment, especially for someone seeing from outside? I don't know how it is for insiders, probably you see it differently. But just looking at the sheer amount of corporate support coming for the league cricket, you feel like that feeder system has to translate into greater Ranji Trophy success. Is that as simple as that, or is there a lot more complex relationship to that?
Yeah, as much as I might sound horrible for saying this, but I think the league system is great. The structure is great, like you said, but it provides the security and comfort for a lot of people. All of that is taken on board really well. But on the flip side, I feel bowlers win championships. Fast bowlers, especially in the last 6 or 7 years, if you look at every single team that has won the championship, there has been one fast bowler that has stood out, or a couple of them that have stood out. And most likely in the Ranji Trophy, apart from Shahbaz Nadeem or somebody like that, there was one odd year where this guy from Bihar got about 70 odd wickets. But there will only be predominantly fast bowlers who have been at the top of the charts, who have been in the top 5, and we have always lacked that actually. And that is because we play on dead pitches here, and most of them have already bowled about 200, 225 overs in the league before they hit Ranji Trophy. They get fatigued, they break down in the middle of the season, and always there's this lucrative thing of IPL also hanging, so they want to save themselves for the IPL, they want to be fit before the auction. So all of these things are also like cons of the league structure, I would say. And to me, I've always felt that having a good fast bowler, the 2 years that we went to the final, both years, El Balaji had a fantastic year. Agreed, a lot of us had amazing years as well. I had a good year when we went to the finals. DK and I had a great year. We went to the finals again. So there are batsmen, of course, winning games, but I think bowlers win you championships. I'm a very big believer in that. And we've always lacked that out and out tear away fast bowler. And it's the biggest thing, like if you call it a tragic story, the times that we've gone to the finals are when we've had 2 or 3 good fast bowlers. There was Ganapati, there was a guy who did well, Balaji and Ganapati, both of them did well, we went to the finals. Balaji, Yo Mahesh and another guy called J. Kaushik did well, we went to the finals again. So very less is spoken about that, but that's my opinion.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Abhinav, again. We had a great time, and I was telling Mahesh, in fact, that I hope at some point of time Abhinav writes a book, because he's so candid and frank and has thought about these things, and you should consider it at some point of time.
In fact, you should write about your season. One is about your career, but you should also write about a Ranji season, because a lot of us don't have the color of it,
See, the thing is, we're moving towards digitalization. You guys are doing podcasts now. You guys are going to move on to like bloody TikTok things for all you know. So I don't know, probably 3 or 4 years from now, let's see.
Well, if you're saying that just because we're moving towards digitalization that nobody will read books, I don't think that's fair. Because,
people are moving towards YouTube and podcasts more. Like the podcast generation is really good. This is actually my first podcast, to be honest. I've done a lot of other, in the sense YouTube and Insta Lives and all of that, even TV recordings. But podcast is something that I'm opening up to only now. So I'm thinking seriously about podcasts and stuff, because I'm thinking it's a great way to connect to people better than probably a YouTube video or I don't know. You guys should tell me. You guys have been doing it for some time now.
We really like it because of the depth it offers us. And, in YouTube, we often, YouTube is great as well, but we just took to podcasts because number one, you don't have to worry about the visual aspect. And two, we have actually got a chance to do like 2 hour plus podcasts with people, both cricketers and cricket writers and everything. And we've really enjoyed getting deep into subjects and into topics. And that's something that, we don't see often these days. In-depth interviews on like, taking like a special, like even with you, for instance, I've read interviews with you and stories with you, but for you to talk like this, the podcast has been a great medium, right? So
yeah, that's why I got back thinking about it. So you never know, I probably start a podcast soon, compete with you.
You can take all our listeners, and I'm sure they'll learn much more from you than from us.
I was just joking. It's just something in the pipeline.
We are hoping you will have a career like Michael Hussey or Misbah, where you have a great flourish towards the end. So please postpone your podcast ideas post-retirement. You have a decade of cricket ahead of you.
Sure. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you to you, and I'll keep in touch.
India